Hey guys, so before I start the video, I'd just like to say this is in no way meant to offend Colton or anybody else mentioned in the video. I'm just stating what has been going on, and I hope you guys enjoy. So I'm not going to go into great detail about who Colton is, but Colton is better known as Clapdaddie on TikTok, and he does OC and cosplay TikToks. The story begins about a week ago when Ava Lee, his former friend, exposed him on social media. So before I show the next couple videos, I just like to say there's another person involved in this situation, and his name is Ian, or Infernumasylum. Ian is also known for cosplays and videos like this. Hey, so if you're watching this video and you get triggered by predators or some type of assault, whether it's sexual assault or sexual harassment, this is not the video for you.
Okay, hi. So I'm going to be making a video in response to what's going on and share my side of the story with the Infernumasylum guy, Ian. Basically, at KatsuCon, I was with Ava Lee, my sister, and some of her other friends that she was meeting for the first time. I didn't know any of them. I didn't know Ian at all. I wasn't even following him. I had no conversations with him. And the first thing he started doing when we would have any interaction was him commentating on my body. One instance was him brushing past someone and going right by my ear and being like, "God damn, you are so thick," which is objectively creepy and weird, and it made me feel really uncomfortable. Another thing he did was put both of his hands on my upper back where my corset started and commentate that waistline, though, as he's behind me, tracing both of his hands down my waistline and out, which made me feel really uncomfortable. At the time, I didn't know if I was being dramatic or making a big deal, but I'll go into DMs into the next video and why I reacted that way. Thank you. So this is part 2. Later that night, I talked to Ava about it, and she was angry, so she reached out to Ian and was like, "You made her really uncomfortable," but she was downplaying the situation. She said it wasn't his fault, but she totally accepts responsibility and apologized to me in person multiple times and on the internet about how that was wrong. Ian then reaches out to me later being like, "I'm sorry I made you uncomfortable, I was solely being in character." Looking at it now, it's very obvious that that was an excuse for his actions. It's the same thing people say when they're drunk, "Oh, I'm drunk, so I didn't know what I was doing." In character or not, you're still consciously saying and doing things, so you know exactly what you're doing. There is no excuse. That didn't sit right with me, but at the time everyone's telling me it's fine, it's not a big deal, he didn't mean it, so I'm just like, okay, I don't want to make a big deal, this is a problem, so I accepted his apology. The reason I reached out twice was because he actually left me on red, didn't say anything, and posted it to Instagram like 2 minutes later after him being like, "I hope we can be friends." I'll finish the rest in part 3. Okay, so last part 3. So basically after that whole thing happened, he ignored my message. I felt really uncomfortable still and off about the situation. They were all going to meet up the next day, and I just completely distanced myself, and I went off on my own from the convention to avoid him the whole time because I did not want to see that person. I should have said something, but at the same time, that should have never happened at all. You are a grown man, like groping women and also saying really sexual things to complete strangers that you don't even know, and then blaming it on it's your character, it's not you. Majority of all the people I meet and have interactions with do not make me feel so uncomfortable to the point that I want to leave or just not even be associated with that group at all. It was a really weird experience, and I just wanted to share it with people just in case they've had similar or they can relate in some way, because this was definitely a problem and it should be brung to light, people like this, because it's not okay.
Ian also made a bunch of videos talking about this situation and apologizing, but there's too many of them, so I'm not going to put them in. Also, I'm not talking about this for no reason. This has a lot to do with this situation because Ava Lee exposed Ian and Colton at the same time.
Before I start this video, I'd just like to say that I probably can't condense everything into 60 seconds, so if there are multiple videos, they are all up right now, and I think that you should definitely watch them. I also want to say that I understand the severity of the things I'm about to bring up, and I would not be making a video at all if I didn't witness things firsthand, hear multiple firsthand testimonials, and also full-heartedly believe it. And what that thing is that Ian, Infernumasylum, and Colton, Clapdaddie, are two people that have very predatory patterns of behavior, and I feel like are a danger to our community. Ian posted a video that is not deleted, basically explaining how he felt like people close to him were talking shit behind his back. And I will admit that we were talking about him, but what we were doing was establishing that he has a very clear pattern of harassment towards women. Now, the few days I was with him, I know that he made several different women feel uncomfortable by saying sexual things to them or getting too close to them or making them feel like they needed to ask someone to watch their back. And the thing is that I've talked to him about this twice before. Once when an incident happened with my sister, and another when an incident happened to a creator I'm close with. And I know another woman in his life has as well, and he just continues to do it. This is part 3. If you haven't seen parts 1 and 2, please go watch them for context. The last thing I want to say about Ian is, even though I feel like I was very lenient in the DMs we had on Instagram, I had another conversation with him in person where I basically just explained much more directly that he can't touch women in a certain way and talk to them a certain way without fully knowing them, and that just all seemed to go over his head, because by the end of it he was making jokes and not taking anything seriously. That's everything I feel like I have the right to talk about when it comes to Ian, so we're going to move on to Colton. Colton is a bit trickier because of the type of people he's chosen to engage with. But he has a clear history of fetishizing trans men and also being very inappropriate towards minors. I've heard several first-hand accounts of minors interacting with Colton and Colton saying sexual things to them, being flirty with them, or just being otherwise just very inappropriate towards them. And all these minors also happen to be trans men. And in my experience with Colton, he's just very manipulative. He has a very nice persona, but there were points in the week where he was just talking shit about everyone behind their backs. This is part 4. It's the final part. If you haven't seen parts 1, 2, or 3, please watch them for context. I just want to restate that I understand the severity of some of the things I brought up in this video, and I would absolutely not be bringing them up if I didn't witness first-hand patterns or hear first-hand accounts from multiple people that I trust that barely even talk, if talk at all. My goal in making these videos is to just have the community be informed that Colton and Ian both have very predatory behaviors and to hopefully keep other people from getting wrapped up in it. And the reason why I feel like I had to say something is because I've associated myself with these two people. By doing that, you kind of give the okay to peers and fans that they're okay people to be around, when I don't think that they are. Unfortunately, it's a lot more complex than accidentally working with a problematic brand, because it's not just between me and them, it's between me, them, and all their victims. And stuff like this needs to be handled with care, and you need to make sure everyone's comfortable so no one gets re-traumatized. I haven't been able to talk about a lot of the things that I've heard and the things that I've seen, but I just want everyone to take this information, what I've been able to tell you, and please stay safe around them and be aware of these patterns so you don't get wrapped up in it too.
I'd just like to say before I start the next video, which is someone talking about their experience with Colton, that Ian and Colton's cases are 2 different allegations. Ian was talking to adults very inappropriately and rude, and Colton was talking to minors very inappropriately, obviously if you're talking to minors and you're 22.
Hey guys, this is part 1 of who knows how many videos about my experience with Clapdaddie, aka Colton, and Infernumasylum, aka Ian. I did a debrief on my Instagram story last night, talking very briefly about my experiences with the both of them, but I wanted to do another one and post them on here to make sure everybody's seeing it and that everybody's staying safe. I'm going to start with Ian because I did not know Ian. We were mutuals. We interacted with each other on posts and live streams on TikTok, but the only real conversation we ever had was him telling me that if I hurt Colton when we were talking, that he'd kill me. And at the time I took it as a joke, but reflecting on it, it seemed very inappropriate and very out of place for a 20-something-year-old man to be telling an 18-year-old that if he hurt somebody in a relationship that he'd kill him. My relationship with Colton was much more personal, and I'll be talking about that in the next video. Sorry. This is part 2 of me talking about the Colton and Ian situation. If you haven't seen part 1, please go check it out before watching this one. So 2 months ago, Colton reached out to me, and after a week of us talking and flirting, he flew up to Portland to come and visit me, where we stayed in a hotel together in downtown Portland. A lot of what happened between us is very personal, and I don't feel comfortable sharing that on such a large platform, but our relationship was very close. After that weekend of Colton coming up, he continuously manipulated me and gaslit me for the following 2 months up until about a week ago. Several of my friends witnessed this firsthand through text or video calls or whatever. I don't have any receipts because I kept deleting his messages because I couldn't stand to look at his name in my phone, so I don't have receipts. Colton would threaten suicide and tell me in-depth things about his self-harm and other self-abuses, which were extremely triggering to me. This is part 3 of my experience in the Colton and Ian situation. If you haven't seen part 1 or 2, please go check them out for context before watching this one. So Colton was very open about his like of transgender men. He would continuously make comments on live streams and to me about how hot trans men were. And I firsthand experienced him making comments about me and my body that made me feel very dysphoric and very fetishized. And then there's the issue of him targeting underage trans men. I have several friends who are ages 15 to 17 who have reached out to me and shared their stories or screenshots with Colton saying that he would fly out and get a hotel for the two of them to stay in, or making sexual comments and sending pictures, things like that. Now, obviously, I'm not a minor, so I didn't actually experience it, but I witnessed it, and the things he said and did, he did to me as well. This is part 4 on the Ian and Colton situation. This is the final part. If you haven't seen parts 1 through 3, please go check those out for context before watching this one. The reason I'm making these videos is because I've been seen associated with them, and I don't want people to think that they're okay people to be associated with. And I wanted to share my personal experience of being fetishized and being manipulated and being gaslighted. I don't want other people to go through that. Ava, Allison, and I all have a lot of information on our stories on Instagram. If you're looking for more context, you can go over to Instagram and go check them out. My DMs over there are also open. If you want to share your own story or your own experience, don't hesitate to shoot me a message. Thank you guys.
Hey, so this is the end of the video, and I'd just like to say this video was to spread awareness about Colton and Ian, not to spread hate. I'm not going to take sides of what I believe is going on in this situation, but I would also like to say don't attack any of these people, friends or family, if you know who they are, because they're probably still dealing with this situation.